Hi, welcome to week two. Hope you're in INB 420 Global Politics and Organizations. We're talking about 21st century nation states and nationalism this week. So let's go ahead and get started. What is nation state? We defined that in week one, but we'll review here. It's a group of culturally, historically similar people who share the same territory and a lot of the same values. They desire self-government. Again, a lot of demographics and community are the same. They also desire to be politically separate from other regional organizations and countries, and they have, again, a self-governing aspect and an ethno-nationalistic group or beliefs as well. And that's really what really defines a nation state, that they have ultimately want to govern themselves, and they're attached to that area of earth and that they call their homeland. So there also is an element of politics to it. They're organized that the territory and the state itself is the highest law, and so you can see for the international, for global politics and international realm, nation states, their belief in themselves and their nationalism can run counter sometimes to things that might be better for a group of nations and the global community. So if you start off from that point, it really ascended obviously in the late 18th century, and the ideals of self-governance and of popular sovereignty has evolved to where more than 2/3 of the countries today believe in this. There's a lot of positive dimensions to nationalism. It promotes democracy, and it discourages imperialism, which we saw obviously from the 14th, 15th century through to the 18th century, where one country really controlled other countries and took all the resources. So in that sense, it's very positive. It promotes economic growth and development. And there are, however, some negative points for nationalism that we can talk about. Parochialism, that we do it best and others don't. And I'm not speaking just to the U.S. I'm talking about, all countries that have a strong nationalism sense of pride. Xenophobia and exceptionalism. We've heard the term exceptionalism. With belief that their nation is better than a group of other countries or another country. More negative dimensions: nativism, demanding favored treatment for established inhabitants of a nation state and resisting the presence or claims of newer immigrants. Cultural discrimination and oppression, and again imperialism, that which was practiced and is still in previous centuries and still to a much lesser extent today. There are not many countries that would fall into the imperialistic category. Nationalism is self-determination. It's for the country to be and go and grow and develop as the inhabitants see fit. So there's a lot of positive aspects to that. It involves groups, and of course every country is within the community of nations, so there are multinational and multi-ethnic states now to consider, and really the nationalism is still a powerful goal. Microstates, that's the emergence of countries with small population that cannot survive economically without outside aid, or they're inherently so military weak they're inviting targets for foreign intervention. There's regional and global instability, and nationalism remains still today a very strong and powerful concept for the nations of the world, for each of their peoples to have self-governments and to want to be the final say, that their country really, no other country or group of other countries or organizations can't tell them what to do, for lack of a better phrase. Look at this survey that I want to put in here. I would rather be a citizen of my country than any other country. These were 22 countries were surveyed, and 78% said yes, and that is the definition of in my house, in my backyard, is the best. 14% unsure, and 8% said no. So that's how strong of these surveys country, that's how strong nationalism still is prevailing. What are the requisites of statehood? State sovereignty. It was first established in the Treaty of Westphalia. That was in the 17th century. Administrative unit of the state has the sole right to govern its territory and people, free from outside interference. See what makes up the territory and population. Let's go to this next slide about where foreign policy and for peace and where conflict is. You see the countries that have substantial, and the different colors there, the green, the yellow, substantial or moderate peace. The failed states, those that are in turmoil, you see many of the African nations fall in that either dark red or dark pink or pink area. And then there are other areas around the world, in the Middle East as well, has the turmoil. And then you see there's some warning areas, kind of the middle of the road, and then as well down in South America. But then you see some moderate mixed in. And so if you look at the map of the world, you kind of see how peace and turmoil is in present day, or is near to present day 2011, where the state of the world is. You look at the political systems. So what makes up, you overlay the previous map and slide against this slide, and you see democratic government, the mint green, for lack of a better color. Mint green is where the democratic and established multidisciplinary system is, and then you see the gray with also democratic government, or recently established democratic government. You see again a lot of states in Africa recently developed democratic states, but you see the vast majority of the world, you see the couple of monarchies holding out there in purple, and there are some military held governments, but there are few. Most of the world map is colored by democracy, and there are a few different military governments thrown in. So that kind of gives you an idea. What do you consider yourself? This is an interesting study, whether you consider yourself a Christian or to have, based on your nationality. It's evenly split in the U.S. Germany has high nationalistic beliefs. Spain, 53 to 22. Britain, 63 to 21, very similar. France, 90% consider themselves to be a citizen of France, as opposed to religion, a specific religion. The spread of democracy, you see the graph here. You start in 1973 to 2012, and you see not free was 46, and now it's down to 30. Partly free was 25, and now it's 30. It's 36, and free was 29. And peaked in 2006 at 46, now down to 35. So there is a trend for either free or partly free, and a declining, obviously, for not free, although it spiked back up. Went down to as little as 25 in 93, and now spiked back up to 30. So it just kind of gives you an idea of where we are in the world as far as free people and those that are defined as not free or as under control of an imperialistic or militaristic government. The nation-state ideal, what is that? Is that approximate nation-state ideal? The U.S. would be an example of the ideal nation-state with a democracy, the self-governing. The U.S. obviously is not perfect, but as Winston Churchill said, it's the worst form of democracy in the entire world, except for all the others. So with its flaws, it still approximates that ideal. The goodness of fit problem, what is that? That's where we have one state but multiple nations within the one state. Countries which are two or more sizable or recognized nationalities. And then you have one nation, multiple states. That is where a nation has substantial numbers of its members living in more than one state. And then there are multiple nations, multiple states, Afghanistan and neighboring countries, and Russia and neighboring countries. So these problems come in where there isn't just one homogeneous nationality, one homogeneous ethnicity across a nation, but you have different different blendings of groups and people and organizations within a country. So we're going to discuss that during week 2 and going forward. But this is it for the end of week 2. I look forward to talking with you in the discussion board, and have a good week.